I'm Malachi, pastor and founder of Life's Word Ministry, along with my beautiful wife, Christine. Welcome to our podcast. We hope that what you hear will enrich, enhance, and encourage your life in a very special way. It is our endeavor to share a word with you that will help you to live, hope, and change. And now, here's today's podcast. Welcome back to another episode of LWM Podcast. I am your host, Pastor Malachi. I want to thank you again for tuning in. It's amazing that last week's show, the listeners doubled. It's amazing how when you have the topic or subheading with the word sex in it, people are so intrigued and wanting to know more. Isn't that amazing? If you want a topic to be at the top of the charts, you want more listeners, you want more followers, talk about sex. Talk about things that the world society is so addicted to, and that's sex. Why is that? Because the devil knows that if he can get people's attention away from God, that he can deceive as many as possible before Jesus comes back. This is the fact. Isn't that amazing? And here we have a society that they're so in tune to sexuality. They're so key on sexuality. They love it on TV, radio, what they read. Sex, and more sex. Sexuality. This is something that was created by God. And because it was created by God, and the devil understands that anything that was created by God, he does not like. So he distorts it. He turns it around for the negative. Let's recap for what we talked about last week. We talked about how young people are entering into dating, and they're completely unaware of the power that emotions have in a relationship, the desires and the temptations in a relationship. These things are awaiting young people, just waiting for them to wake up. And young people's bodies are waking up early now in age. You know, you have 10 years old that are coming into their womanhood, and they're having periods earlier today than they were years ago. And so there's things that's happening to our kids' body that they don't understand. They don't realize what's going on. And certain people out there will manipulate young people because of this transition in life. Hebrews 13:4 says marriage should be honorable by all, and the marriage bed kept pure. How do you keep the marriage bed pure? By not succumbing to the sexual advances of another individual before marriage. These desires, these temptations, they're strong. Let me tell you, they're strong. I don't care who you are. I'm going to share some real stories with you a little later, but you need to understand how serious this is. This is a very serious topic, especially in the church arena. Abstinence should be taught in the church, not just the fact that sex is bad, you should not have sex. No, explain to the young people how God created it and how beautiful it is if it's done in the right way, if it's kept in the right perspective. It shouldn't be used as a negative tool, because when you use things as a negative tool, people are more curious and they're more apt to try because you told them what they shouldn't do. So in telling them what they shouldn't do, tell them what they can do and what they ought to do when it comes to God and keeping themselves pure. That's one of the most important things a church can talk about. Talk about sex. And I had said last week, the reason why many churches aren't talking about sex is because sex is going on in the pulpit outside of marriage. And I talked about Paul exhorting the Christian church in Corinth about how they were having problems with sexuality in the church. Men were having sex with other men's wives, and wives were having sex with other women's husbands. They were having sex outside of marriage in the church. And it's still going on today, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't something new. This has been going on for centuries, for decades. For decades it's been going on. But I had said that we're going to talk about this week, how far is too far? When you think about it, how far is too far? How far can you go? How far do you think you can go? How far should you go when it talks about having sex? If you're dating, if you're engaged, how far should you go? How far is too far in that relationship? How far are you letting that young man touch on you? How far are you letting that young man entice you? How far are you? Now, this goes for the young ladies too. How far are you enticing these young men? Are you dressing in a way that these young men can't help themselves but to stare at you? And just by them staring at you conjures up certain feelings within a young man's body. Dress appropriately, young ladies. You don't have to show your breasts in order to get attention. You don't have to show your thighs in order to get attention. You can still dress appropriately and be sexy and still be attractive. You don't have to dress, as they used to say, slutty. You don't have to show your goods. Don't show your goods. You know, how many times have you seen or heard about young ladies that like a young man, and the young man is pursuing her because she's playing hard to get? See, that's why we want you, because you're playing hard to get. And you hear about the young man getting it and leaving the young woman devastated. Now he doesn't want to have anything to do with her because she's already given in. She's already been enticed and tricked and deceived into giving up her goods. But if you're a young woman that's showing all your goods and showing everything up front, don't give up your goods. What are your goods? It's something that God created that was good for the marriage. As my mother-in-law would say to her daughter when she was young, keep your flower closed. Don't allow your flower to open until it's time for it to bloom. Give them something to desire for later. Curiosity. You know, it's like Christmas. You don't get a chance to open that gift until Christmas. So don't allow them to open that gift until Christmas. What is Christmas? It's marriage. And I understand that because of the society that we're living in, so many people, they don't agree with that. They feel that they ought to show their breasts. They feel that they ought to be able to show their thighs and take pictures of themselves in the bathroom mirror of their butt. I don't understand all the different types of pictures that I see on social media. I don't get on social media as often as I used to because I don't want to be inundated with so much negativity. You know, we have so much negative anyway. My wife will, why are you watching CNN? I'm trying to keep up with the current events. But on social media, it's like it's inundated with sexuality. You see these women and their poses are so seductive. They're squeezing their breasts together and they're bending over so you can see their breasts. And I'm like, really? Is that what it's about today? Showing your breasts? Showing your butt to other people? People want attention. They are looking for approval. It's all for people getting attention. They want attention. They want approval from other people. That's why they post certain pictures on social media, because they want approval. They're looking for approval. You might not feel as pretty as you think you are, but you post pictures and you want people to say how beautiful you are, but yet inside you're still fighting with the fact that you have these blemishes, the fact that you feel not attractive, the fact that you feel fat. You're beautiful no matter what. God created you in his image. God's image is beautiful. So beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Well, beauty is in the eyes of God. Everything God created was beautiful. So you are beautiful. Stop making excuses. Stop putting yourself down. Stop saying that you're fat. Stop saying it might be true, but stop saying it. Talk in the positive. Talk positive affirmations. I am beautiful. I am skinny. I am lovely. I am sexy. You don't have to show yourself sexy in order to be sexy. Cover yourself up. You can still be sexy. Come on. Stop flashing your breastises on social media. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because it's very prevalent on social media. You go through your feed and man, it's like bam, 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 bam. What am I talking about? I'm talking about far as sexuality and knowing the right place for sexuality. So how far is too far? You know what? I want to believe that there is no real definitive answer to this question. Because if our goal is to go as far as we can in good conscience, we may be already facing moral defeat. Oh, my goodness. Anytime we approach sin with the attitude of how close can I get before I have to repent, we are setting ourselves up for failure already. You know, if you're sitting in a car with a young woman and it's late, should have been at home hours ago, but you're sitting in the dark, waiting for it to get darker, and you go to these isolated places, that right there ought to be a clue that you're getting ready to do something wrong anyway. And so you're sitting there and you're contemplating on kissing this young woman and feeling on her and trying to go as far as you can. Now, I'm talking about Christians. I'm talking about those that are in the church, those that say that they love God. You know, we understand the world's perspective of this. They do whatever they want to do. You know, they act the way they're supposed to act. But I'm talking to church folk. I'm talking to you that are Christian, you that are trying to live a life that is pleasing to God. And this is the only way that you can do this is not put yourself in a position to be tempted. Don't put yourself in a position that it's going to bring certain emotions and certain feelings out that shouldn't be acted upon until marriage. I'm very strong on this because of my background. I don't throw rocks. I don't browbeat. I don't judge. I try to share from my heart what I feel is right for you not to fall into diverse temptation. It's easy to talk about what we've overcome sometimes. That's why I can talk about this particular subject, because I've been delivered from such acts. And this is why I'm so adamant now about helping you. For those of you that are Christian, this is what the question should be. How can I keep my heart and my thoughts honoring to God in this dating relationship? How can I keep my thoughts pure while I'm dating? How can I keep my thoughts honoring God while I'm dating this person? And better still is the Christian who ponders in their saved minds, how can I protect the purity of the person I'm dating? That's what you ought to be thinking, okay? How can I protect the purity of the person I'm dating? They might not be thinking it, but you can help them. Here's a great start. Turn over to Philippians 2, 3-4, where it says, let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem each other better than himself. Let each of you look out not only at his own interests, but also for the interests of others. We can stay on that all day. Don't let anything you do be done through selfish ambition. It's not about you. Yes, it is about you, but it isn't about you. It's about protecting that other person. You do want to protect yourself. You do want to keep yourself pure. You do want to keep yourself clean. You do want to keep yourself, but also you want to keep the other person. You want to help that other person stay pure. You don't want to do anything that's going to bring them down. You don't want to do anything that's going to cause them to sin, because all sexual expression was designed by God for marriage relationship. That's why I said earlier that sexuality was designed and created by God, but it was designed by God for the marriage relationship. Yes, we all have fallen. I have fallen. But I've gotten myself up. I've picked myself up many times and asked for forgiveness. That's the human side of us, because we allow ourselves to be put in a predicament that our end result is sinning. There's no exception here. I'm not talking like I've never done anything wrong. I'm not talking like I'm the perfect one. No, I know what I'm talking about. I'm talking from experience. There's been plenty of times in my past, I wasn't trying to help someone stay saved. I wasn't trying to help them be pure. I was impure. My thoughts was impure. I was like, yo, we can do this. And then I tried to justify why we were doing it. Is it wrong? No, not really. No, it ain't. No, not really. No, it's wrong. That's why I know I can share this with you from a pure heart. That's why I can share now from transparency to help others not to be put in a predicament to sin. 1 Corinthians 7:2. Nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man have his own wife, and let each woman have her own husband. This is running rapid in Hollywood because of sin. People always talk about how sinful Hollywood is. Well, hey, sin is in your house. It's not just in Hollywood, it's in your house as well. I stated this last week. Men sleeping with men, women sleeping with women. You have 3-on-3, you have 4-on-4. You have all of these orgies on TV, and these young people are watching these shows and they're thinking that it's okay. Well, this is what our society is about. It must be all right. And it's not okay. Where do we take a stand? Where do we draw the line in the concrete? Not in the sand, because sand, the water washes it away. But in concrete, it sticks. It's permanent. Because all romantic expressions before marriage are steps leading to a culmination in intercourse. From first glance to final act, sexual tensions build within every step. So how far is too far? The too far point is whenever that expression changes from showing affection to desiring sin. That's the final act. You can look at a person all day and not sin. Yes, you can think in a certain way that causes sin, but when you act upon that sin, that thought, that's when it really becomes devastating. I mean, it's all devastating because sin is sin. The thought process, the act of it, the first glance. Okay, you can glance at anybody all day and not sin, but it's the final act that causes us to fall. Sin begins in the heart. Rather than just evaluating outward actions for their appropriateness, we should evaluate our heart motives. That's what we should evaluate. It's our heart. Jesus said in Mark 7:20-23, what comes out of a person is what defiles them. For it is from within, out of a person's heart, that evil thoughts come. Sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly. All these evils come from inside and defile a person. It's all of this that's built up inside of a person because of sin, the sinful nature of man. Sexuality is not a bad thing. However, the devil has turned sexuality into negative, something that's degrading now. It's amazing that when you look at so many shows today, it's the woman that is paraded around as a sexual tool, as a sexual image. It's amazing that in order to make money, the things that people will do today, and it all surrounds sexuality. Women, men, present yourself in a way that others will have to respect you. The reason why they don't respect you is because you don't respect yourself enough to say, hey, you know what? I am not just a sexual tool. Sexual purity must begin in the heart. When the desire of the heart is to honor God and our dating partner, then boundaries will be drawn in our attitudes, clothing, activity choices, and the words we speak. The boundaries will be drawn in our attitudes because our heart is to desire and honor God. For example, sexting. We know what sexting is. People will text each other in a sexual nature. They call it sexting. It has become wildly popular, even among teens too young to date. So if they can't date, they'll send pictures of their body parts to each other. This is why you parents really need to pay attention to what's on your child's phone. Why is it that the child will stand up in front of the parents and say, "This is my phone. You can't have my phone. No, you can't look at my phone. No, I'm paying the bill, so it's my phone." That's why I don't understand how kids can get away with that. It's my phone. No, it's not your phone. I'm paying the bill. So until you pay the bill, then you can say it's your phone. But since I'm paying the bill, give me the phone so I can see what you texting, so I can see what you're sending. You're the parent, right? They're the child, remember? So you need to be the in-house detective. Find out what's on their phone. See who they're texting. See what they're texting. And why they think it's okay to send what they're sending. Why are you sending your body parts to somebody else? Why are you sending your little pee-pee to this girl? Why are you sending your little tiny breast to this boy? Really? We need to get a hold of that today, right now. You need to go go check that child's phone right now. Put the podcast on pause and go check your child's phone right this instant. Tell that child that Pastor Malachi said, and they'll be like, who's Pastor Malachi? Go on. I'll wait for you to get back. You can't, huh? Because you scared. How are you scared and you the parent? But by exploiting words and images, they are violating moral purity without ever physically touching the other person. Sexting. How many of you have sexted? I used to sext all the time. Sex texting. I used to do that. I could tell off on myself. People say, "Oh, no, not me, not me." Oh, yeah, you've sent certain pictures, certain images. This is all sin. Romans 14:13 says, "Therefore, let us stop passing judgment on one another." See, I'm not trying to pass judgment on you. I had said once before that I am a tree inspector. If you say that you're an apple tree and I see pears, well, when I make the statement that I see pears, I'm not judging you. I'm stating a fact. I see pears. You're not an apple tree. You could say that you're an apple tree all day, but if I see pears, I'm going to say I see pears. People don't like their sin exposed. That's why they say, "Don't judge me." Well, if you don't want people to judge you, stop sinning. This is a hard topic for people to listen to that are in sin. This is a hard topic to listen to, especially if you're living with someone and you're not married to them. People don't want you to draw attention to their sin, but yet they say they love God, but yet they say they want to go to heaven. I'm just stressing a point here that's going to help you in the long run. If you are sinning, you can stop. But the writer says, "Therefore, let us stop passing judgment on one another. Instead, make up your mind not to put any stumbling block or obstacle in the way of a brother and sister." Don't put a stumbling block in another person's way. If you're weak, try your best to strengthen the weaknesses in your life. You know, you're around another Christian and you say that you're a Christian. Don't put a stumbling block in their way because of certain things that you're doing. Help them to overcome. Help them to be strong. Maybe you need to get around more stronger Christians than you. Remember I said my mother used to tell me weakness begets weakness. Well, that's true. Weakness does beget weakness. You are what you eat, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're eating sexuality from a world standard, guess what? You're going to act like that, even in the church. We have sinned when we intentionally create lust in another. Did you hear me on that? We have sinned when we intentionally create lust in another, whether through improper clothing flirtatious behavior, or physically touching body parts that are not yours to enjoy. If you're dating, keep your hands to yourself. I know I sound old school right there. Keep your hands to yourself. You can hold hands, you can hold each other, but how far is too far? An engaged couple who enjoy a long, passionate kiss before parting for the evening may not be sinning if their desires are pure and the kiss is an expression of selfless love. That's almost hard to do. That's something you have to practice at. To get yourself in a mindset, in a mind frame of honoring your commitment to the Lord, even while you're kissing your date goodnight or you're kissing your loved one goodnight. Don't allow the sinful nature to arise within you to go too far. Longing for the wedding night is not a sin because the desire is for a God-ordained consummation of committed love. However, makeout sessions, as a normal part of a dating relationship, create lustful passions that cannot be rightfully fulfilled. This is also a sin. And why do I say that? Because you're not married. That's why you can't rightfully fulfill those lustful feelings that are arising when you're together alone. This is why you should not allow yourself to be put in a precarious situation to where the end result will be you sinning and asking God to forgive you. This is a lot of people's weaknesses today because the devil understands how powerful sex is. The devil knows how powerful that is, so he uses it as a tool. And that's why he takes you to the edge, to the cliff, and tells you to look. Oh, isn't it beautiful? Oh, isn't she sexy? Isn't it beautiful? All you have to do is just bow down and worship me. Remember what he told Jesus when Jesus was on his 40 day out there in the wilderness, showing him all these kingdoms and showing it already belonged to him. You can't tempt God with what he already owns, but yet the devil will tempt you. He'll take you to the mountaintop. He'll take you to the highest peak and have you look over and go, ooh, isn't he fine? Ooh, look at his ripping abs. Ooh, girl, that boy is fine. Man, look at her. Look at her breasts. Ooh, man, I wish I could squeeze on. That's those thoughts that are going through a man's mind, going through the woman's mind. And that's the job of the devil, is to entice you. As Christians, we need to be very careful in what we look at, what we listen to, what we read. It's very important to our life. You say that you want to live for God. You say that you want to be strong. You say that you want to be a witness. However, there are times in our lives when we will be weak ourselves. 1 Thessalonians 4:3-8. This is a guide for those who truly want guidance. It is God's will that you should be sanctified, that you should avoid sexual immorality, that each of you should learn to control your own body in a way that is holy and honorable, not in passionate lust like the pagans who do not know God, but that in this manner no one should wrong or take advantage of a brother or a sister. The Lord will punish all those who commit such sins, as we told you and warned you before. For God did not call us to be impure, but to live a holy life. Therefore, anyone who rejects this instruction does not reject a human being, but God, the very God who gives you his Holy Spirit. That's what Paul wrote. He was trying to encourage the church in Thessalonica to be sanctified, that you should avoid sexual immorality, that you should learn to control your own body in a way that is holy and honorable. This is important for us to understand this, and I see that this is going to be a part 3 to this sex. I want it, and I want it now. It's so much in this that we need to understand as Christians where to draw the line. And this is where I'm going to draw the line today. Come back next week as we finish Sex. I Want It and I Want It Now. Part 3, because there's so much that we need to know. There's so much that we need to understand as Christians, what we can and can't do, what we should and should not do. How far is too far? This concludes our podcast for today. Through one podcast at a time, we are helping you to rise up and overcome many of the world's perplexing problems. Remember to love God, love yourself, and love others. Thank you for subscribing and sharing our podcast with others. Until next time, I'm Pastor Malachi.